What happens when Hollywood's calmest star finally loses her cool? Not in a movie, not in a tabloid, but live on national television. When Jennifer Aniston, the woman known for grace and composure, sits across from Joy Behar, daytime TV's most unfiltered provocateur, what begins as small talk turns into a verbal crossfire that no producer can stop. It's the morning when politeness dies, tension explodes, and one quiet line from Jennifer leaves an entire studio frozen. Trust me, this talk show won't disappoint you. It'll be worth every second of your time. The studio lights glowed warm and golden across the familiar set of The View. Joy Behar sat at the center of the table, confidence radiating from every movement. Whoopi Goldberg leaned back with that signature, knowing smirk, and Sunny Hostin quietly reviewed the teleprompter, sensing that today's show might not be as calm as it looked. And then the applause hit like a wave when Jennifer Aniston stepped onto the stage. She looked flawless, effortless, the same America's sweetheart the world had adored for decades. Dressed in a soft cream blouse, she carried herself with that quiet grace people had come to expect. She smiled, waved, took her seat, and adjusted her mic, unaware that she was walking straight into an ambush disguised as conversation. Joy leaned forward, her voice sweet but sharp. 30 years in Hollywood, huh? Tell me, Jennifer, how does it feel watching it all crumble? Jennifer smiled politely, calm as ever. It's not perfect, she said, but it's progress. The audience gave a polite round of applause. It should have ended there, but Joy wasn't done. She tilted her head, a faint smirk curling at the edge of her lips. Progress? She echoed. You mean when you distance yourself from your old friends? The saying landed like a dart. Quick, precise, cruel in the way only Joy could make sound casual. Jennifer's smile froze for a second. You could almost see her processing, deciding whether to brush it off or fight back. The cameras stayed tight on her face, capturing the micro flinch behind her calm expression. Joy leaned back, pleased with herself. Oh, don't give me that look, she teased. People notice, Jen. You used to be everywhere with your friends. Now it's just you. The room grew heavy. The air changed. Even Whoopi glanced over as if to silently ask, Are we really going there? Jennifer took a breath, steady and deliberate. People read too much into things that aren't there, she said. Life changes. People grow apart. It doesn't mean there's bad blood. Joy smiled like she just heard the perfect setup for her next jab. Sure, she said with mock sympathy. But let's be honest. Hollywood friendships only last while the cameras are rolling, right? That's when it happened. A tiny shift in Jennifer's expression. The kind that says enough. Her hands stayed still, but her posture changed. She sat a little straighter, her tone just a shade lower. Some friendships, she said, last longer than gossip. The audience didn't know whether to laugh or clap. Some did both, awkwardly. Joy blinked, thrown off for a split second, and that was the first sign of what was coming. For years, Jennifer had played the game. The polite answers, the deflections, the smiles that kept interviews safe and controlled. But this time, there was a different kind of energy in her voice, controlled but loaded. The laughter in the studio faded into a strange kind of quiet. Joy Behar leaned forward, eyes bright, voice light as ever, but every word she spoke came sharpened with intent. Some say Hollywood friendships only last while the cameras are rolling, she said, her tone sugar-sweet, but every word carried venom. Once the lights go off, everyone's suddenly too busy for each other. Jennifer smiled tightly, her voice calm but clipped. That's not true, she said. Some of us are still real. Joy smirked. Even with those you've had, let's say, creative disagreements with? Jennifer's smile froze for a heartbeat. You mean rumors, she said flatly. Joy chuckled. Oh, come on, the tabloids don't just make everything up. I mean, if there's smoke, Jennifer cut in, her tone sharper than before. Maybe it's because someone keeps fanning the flames. The audience reacted instantly. Gasps, a few nervous laughs. Whoopi shot Joy a look like, don't push it. But Joy lived for moments like this. She leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice low and mocking. Relax, Jen. It's not that deep. I'm just saying, people noticed. One day you're best friends with everyone, the next, you're meditating in Malibu. Jennifer blinked slowly, her jaw tightening. People grow up, Joy. Some of us just don't need to broadcast our friendships to stay relevant. That hit like a slap. Calm but stinging. Joy's smile faltered for half a second before she shot back. Oh, honey, relevance isn't my problem. I still have a live audience, Whoopi muttered under her breath. Oh, Lord, as Jennifer's expression changed, still calm, but now colder. She leaned forward slightly. Right, she said softly. An audience that laughs when you tear people down? Must be exhausting pretending that's comedy. The crowd gasped again, louder this time. Joy laughed, but it sounded forced. Tear people down? I tease. That's what talk shows are about. If you can't handle a joke, maybe you're in the wrong industry. Jennifer tilted her head, voice steady and controlled, but her eyes were blazing. And maybe you're in the wrong decade if you still think cruelty counts as entertainment. Whoopi's eyebrows shot up. Sunny Hostin froze in her chair. Even the camera crew hesitated. No one dared to look away. Joy chuckled nervously. Oh, come on, Jen. Don't be so dramatic, Jennifer leaned in, her voice dropping just enough for the mics to catch. I'm not being dramatic, Joy. I'm being honest. You just don't like it when the mirror faces you. The room went dead silent. You could hear a chair creak somewhere offset. Joy blinked, clearly thrown off. She tried to regain footing, her tone defensive. I'm just doing my job, asking questions. You Hollywood types always think you're above criticism. Jennifer didn't flinch. No, she said. I just think you confuse cruelty with journalism. The audience erupted, half gasps, half applause. Joy's hand tightened around her cue cards, the paper bending under her grip. Someone in the control room whispered, We need to cut to commercial. But no one moved. Jennifer sat still, calm as a statue, while Joy's fake smile started to crack. The studio felt like it had stopped breathing. Cameras hummed. Audience members leaned forward in their seats. Every eye locked on Jennifer and Joy. The tension wasn't just visible, it was alive. Jennifer's voice came low and calm, but the edge was unmistakable. You call it curiosity, she said, eyes fixed on Joy. I call it disrespect. A ripple ran through the crowd. Half gasp, half nervous laughter. Joy smirked, playing it off. Hollywood folks are sensitive today, she quipped, forcing a laugh. Jennifer didn't blink. It's not sensitivity, Joy. It's knowing when to stop. The air tightened like a stretched wire about to snap. Jennifer leaned back in her chair, her expression unreadable, but her tone steady, deliberate, the kind of calm that made everyone more nervous. You think it's humor, she said, pausing just long enough for the silence to sting, but it's mean-spirited. Joy's smile faded into a scoff. That's rich, she said, crossing her arms. Coming from someone who's made an entire career out of charm and PR smiles. Jennifer tilted her head slightly, her voice lowering to an icy whisper that somehow carried across the room. At least I never used cruelty as my punchline. That line hit like thunder. The crowd exploded. Gasps, claps, even a few cheers. Joy froze, caught off guard. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Whoopi's eyes went wide. She started to speak, then stopped. For the first time in years, the view wasn't in control. Jennifer didn't gloat. She just sat there, still, centered, while Joy's mask slipped for a split second. You could see it, the flush in her face, the tightening of her jaw, the sudden realization that she'd lost the room. Joy tried to laugh it off, the sound brittle and forced. Wow, she said, voice cracking slightly. That's one way to keep daytime TV interesting. Jennifer didn't answer. She leaned in just enough for the mic to catch her words, soft but cutting. You crossed a line today. The room went silent again. Joy forced another smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Guess it's a good thing we're live, she muttered, pretending to stay composed. Jennifer didn't bother replying. She simply looked at her, that calm, piercing stare that said everything without a word. When the show returned from commercial, The energy had completely shifted. What used to be a bright, bubbly morning atmosphere now felt stiff and uncomfortable, like everyone was pretending nothing had happened while knowing full well they couldn't rewind what just went down. The audience clapped on cue, but the applause sounded forced. Joy's smile was back in place, but it looked painted on, brittle and thin. Jennifer sat perfectly composed, her calm now sharper than before. Whoopi, doing her best to keep things together, jumped in with her usual mix of charm and control. "We're back with Jennifer Aniston," she said, her voice just a touch too cheerful. "Let's talk about your new film." Jennifer gave a polite smile. "Sure," she said, leaning slightly toward the mic. "It's a story about boundaries, about what happens when people mistake kindness for weakness." The crowd reacted instantly. A collective "ooh" rippled through the studio like a slow wave. Everyone knew exactly who that line was aimed at. Even the cameramen hesitated, unsure whether to zoom in or not. Joy blinked twice, her smirk returning. Thin, defensive. "And I'm sure you of all people know something about boundaries," she said, her tone coated in sarcasm. Jennifer didn't even flinch. She looked directly at Joy, calm and steady. "I do," she replied slowly. "I just learned not everyone respects them." You could have heard a pin drop. Whoopi tried to laugh it off, clapping her hands once. All right, she said, forcing a grin. "Let's not scare the viewers at home." But it was too late. The storm had already broken. The tension filled every inch of the studio. The audience didn't know whether to laugh or hold their breath. Joy shifted in her seat, trying to regain control, but the rhythm of the show was gone. Jennifer sat still, poised but unyielding. Every word she spoke now carried weight. It wasn't anger, it was precision, the kind of composure that comes after you've finally had enough. The laughter had died. Every smile on set was forced now, every word careful. Except for Joy's. She wasn't ready to back down. Her pride wouldn't let her. "Some people," Joy said, her tone dripping with mock sweetness, "are just difficult." Jennifer turned her head slowly, eyes steady, voice flat. "And some people mistake cruelty for comedy." The audience reacted like a spark had hit dry wood. Gasps, a few claps, whispers. Joy's jaw clenched. She wasn't used to being the one cornered. "Not everyone asking tough questions is cruel," Joy fired back, her voice a little sharper now. Jennifer didn't blink. "And not everyone refusing to be humiliated is too sensitive. It's called self-respect." The words landed like tiny, deliberate cuts. Slow, clean, and impossible to shrug off. Joy leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms, her tone defensive but shaky. "Oh, come on, Jen. It's just a show. People like a little heat. You're acting like I burned your house down." Jennifer gave a short, humorless laugh. "No, Joy. Just your guest dignity. One episode at a time." The audience gasped again, louder this time. Even Whoopi couldn't hide her grin as she muttered, "Oh, Lord have mercy." Joy's smile faltered completely now. Her voice dropped. "You really think that's what I do?" Jennifer leaned forward, calm but cold, her voice steady as glass. "You've been doing this long enough to know. Words have power. You use them like weapons. And eventually, they cut you too." The silence that followed was brutal. Joy stared at her, lips parting as if to answer, but nothing came out. For the first time in years, Joy Behar, the woman who never ran out of comebacks, had none. Jennifer sat back slowly, unbothered, composed. The crowd didn't cheer this time. They didn't have to. Everyone watching knew exactly what had just happened. Joy Behar had met her match, and Jennifer Aniston didn't even need to raise her voice to win. When the cameras cut, the studio stayed frozen for a beat, like everyone was still waiting for someone to say, "cut," even though the damage was already done. Jennifer stood up slowly, her face calm but her hands trembling just slightly. She didn't storm out or make a scene. She just walked toward the stage exit in silence. Her mic was still on, and then, softly, almost like she was talking to herself, she said, "Some things just need to be said." Those 6 words echoed through the studio speakers, slipping past the producer's panic and out across the live feed before anyone could mute it. Within minutes, they were replaying on phones, clips, tweets, TikToks, everywhere. Hashtag Jennifer Aniston trended instantly. Quotes flooded social media. Curious is one thing. Disrespect is another. Fans called it the moment daytime TV finally got real. For Jennifer, it wasn't a performance. It was relief. A release years in the making. But for Joy Behar, the firestorm was just beginning. Joy stormed into the dressing room, slamming her cue cards onto the counter. "I didn't do anything wrong," she snapped, pacing. "She overreacted. It was a joke." Whoopi was leaning against the doorframe, coffee cup in hand, that familiar look of quiet disbelief on her face. "No, Joy," she said evenly. "You poke the bear," and she bit back. Joy let out a short, bitter laugh. "Oh, please. Everyone's so damn sensitive these days. You can't say anything without somebody crying about it." Whoopi took a sip, unimpressed. "Maybe, but not everyone's been doing this for 40 years and still hasn't figured out when to stop." Joy's eyes flashed. "I was doing my job." Whoopi shook her head slowly. "No, you were doing what you always do, crossing lines and calling it honesty." She looked straight at her. "Maybe it's time to ask why." Joy didn't respond. Her lips tightened, her reflection in the mirror staring back at her. The confident talk show host replaced by someone suddenly unsure. The next morning, the world was still buzzing. Headlines screamed from every outlet. America's sweetheart snaps. Clips of Jennifer's calm but devastating takedown played on a loop. Half the internet praised her for standing up for herself. The other half called her out of control. Jennifer scrolled through her phone in silence, her coffee growing cold beside her. She didn't flinch at the noise, didn't defend herself, didn't try to explain. Instead, a small, tired smile touched her lips. "They finally saw me," she whispered, almost to herself. Not the smile, the person. Meanwhile, across the country, Joy Behar sat in her dressing room, staring at her reflection. Her makeup was done, her notes in front of her. But the spark that usually filled her eyes was gone. Whoopi appeared in the doorway, holding her phone. "You're trending with Kanye," she said dryly. Joy let out a short, bitter laugh. "Fantastic. I'm the villain again," Sonny Hostin, sitting nearby, glanced up from her tablet. "Maybe it's time you listen instead of talk," she said gently. Joy looked up, ready to fire back, but nothing came. For the first time in years, she couldn't find a joke to hide behind. The silence said everything. When the show went live the next day, the tone was different. No flashy jokes, no fake laughter, just quiet tension. Whoopi looked straight into the camera, her expression serious. "Yesterday got realer than we expected," she said. "And that's part of what this show is about. Real conversations, even when they get uncomfortable." Then she turned to Joy. "Joy?" Joy nodded slowly, her voice softer than anyone had heard in years. "Yeah," she said. "I've been doing this a long time. And yesterday I crossed a line. Jennifer, if you're watching, I'm sorry." The audience didn't just clap. They stood. A long, genuine standing ovation. Whoopi smiled faintly, glancing at her co-host. "Growth looks good on you, Joy." Joy managed a small, self-deprecating smile. "Don't get used to it," she said, her voice cracking just slightly. For the first time in a long time, the view wasn't about punchlines or sound bites. It was about accountability. And behind all the noise, both women, Jennifer and Joy, had changed something in each other. Something real. If this story moved you, if you believe in standing your ground and speaking truth even when it shakes the room, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful moments like this. Because sometimes one voice is all it takes to change everything. Thanks for watching. And remember, respect isn't given, it's earned.